and being here in Zoom land, as I usually refer to it when I'm teaching in a format like this. So I like to have sort of an interactive thing. So I will ask questions periodically. You don't have to answer, but I'm interested to see what people's thoughts are already on the topic. And in my, I like it if people have questions, even if I don't ask, if somebody has questions or if somebody has thoughts. So it might be a little difficult for me to, monitor both here in the room and online. But if you do have a question and you're online, feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute and interrupt if you need to.
And Greg, I'm noticing some people are leaning in closer to their in the case they have trouble hearing. So if you could speak up.
Is anyone having trouble hearing me at this point?
Oh,
okay. Where's the chat?
I'd love to see you, though. I wish I could see you.
Well, you'll see him.
You'll see him. Yeah. Yeah. The way that this is working, it's I guess it's gonna be hard to present and see at the same time.
I can hear well.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Marta.
See you.
Okay. So
What do you do? Question?
Without further ado, I'll get started, and starting off pretty much with a question. What is artificial intelligence? Does anybody have any preconceived idea, or maybe they've seen a definition of it or come up with their own that they'd like to share? Anybody out there?
I'm not seeing any hands online.
Okay, that's quite okay. I decided to ask an AI what it thought artificial intelligence was. And this is an AI's definition. AI refers to machines or computers that can, quote, think and perform tasks that usually require human intelligence, that involve learning, reasoning, and problem solving. So that's an AI's definition. I must say, in conversing with AIs, so to speak, they're a little full of themselves. So
why are you putting AI in the plural?
What's that?
You said AI is with plural. What?
No, that's not plural. That's what's that? Possessive. That's possessive. AI apostrophe S. An AI's definition.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
So, in my opinion, based on that definition, we haven't achieved AI yet. Learning is one task, I would say, that AIs can perform. But the others, reasoning, problem solving, it's going to look like they're doing that. And they'll tell you that they're actually doing that. But that comes with a caveat. They don't reason and problem solve like people do. So artificial is probably the key word in this whole thing, artificial intelligence. It's not intelligence, at least yet. So the current state of AI is just a computer algorithm. It's a computer program, essentially, that can provide human-like responses to questions or tasks that you request of it, drawn from its training data. So, in other words, the AI really can't do anything outside of the information that it's been given. Whereas humans can take a situation, something that they've learned about in one situation, and apply it to another totally different situation. AIs can't do that yet. Whether they ever will is also up for debate. All right, so only respond based on information it has been given by humans. In my opinion, it's just a very advanced Google search. In many ways it is. It's some of them are very specific there's very generalized AIs and there's some very specific ones, but they're essentially, they take a lot of the technology. Google is essentially AI in the background. And the search results for AIs like ChatGPT, if anyone's used that, and we'll be looking at that later. They basically take the results from a search, not necessarily a real-time search on the internet like Google does, but a search in its data that it's been trained on. And then what it's special about AIs compared to a Google search is it presents the information in a much friendlier, human-like response. Whereas Google, although now it's at the beginning of the search, at least with mine, I think you might have to turn it on. It will provide an AI type response at first and then give you all the links. But an AI like ChatGPT that we'll see really is doing something very similar to Google is, but the output is a much more human-like response. All right, so what AI can't do, and I parenthesize yet, because that's what they're working on, reasoning and common sense. So an AI will tell you, because I'm going to show you, you know, they are pretty smart, and it seems like they're reasoning and even maybe applying common sense, but it's artificial. They can only draw from the data that they've been giving, and they'll admit that. I mean, you can ask them about themselves, and you'll see how they respond about how they do things that they do. They can't solve problems outside the bounds of their training. So if the data is not in there, they can't solve a problem or give a response. If it doesn't, ChatGPT, I'll keep coming back to the one because that was the one that was groundbreaking, released about 2 years ago, and it only had information up to, at the time, 2021, I believe, or 2000, maybe even earlier than that, because this was in 2022. It was like 2019 or 2020. It's a couple of years behind. Now, some of the more current versions have more current data, but they are not real time. So they're not going to provide data from yesterday's baseball game because they haven't been trained on that yet. Because it requires for a human to actually feed them the data before they don't do a real-time search is the point.
But if it's out on the internet, can't they go out?
But they could if that's the type of AI that you're using. But the ones that most people are using don't do real time. They're not up to date. You can usually even ask it, what is the most current date of your training? And they'll tell you what year, I think even what month that they've got data from.
Again, the same question I have. You talk about them and they. What actually is AI? Is it a machine? Is it a program? What is it?
It is a program. So, and the reason I say they or refer to them in plural is because there's different AIs that you can interact with. So there's not just one AI, artificial intelligence, out there. You can go and refer to, there's dozens of them, really. Some of them are very specialized. Some of them have very general knowledge. And we'll see, we'll take a look at some of them. Some of them are specialized in creating images. You tell it what you want, what kind of image you want, and it will create an image for you. Others are specialized in just providing text responses. Others are specialized in medical. Some are specialized in, if you're a gardener, in plants. So that's why I say AIs, because there's a whole bunch of different ones. Some of them specialized, some of them more generalized.
Thank you.
Complexity is mostly text, and it's kind of like it was presented to me as, oh, you should get Perplexity because it's way beyond what you can do with Hey Siri.
Oh, it is. Yeah, most of these AIs are way beyond what Siri and Google Assistant and Alexa. Yeah.
Recent data, not 2019, but
Okay, so it's real time. Yeah. So yeah, there are some that are combined, like what's on Bing. Bing is combination. It draws from current internet data and also from its training information.
So
Oh, yeah, you just talked to Siri.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, I couldn't hear what she was saying. Also, when she was talking about Perplexity.
Yes.
Okay, 'cause I was going to say Perplexity is connected to the internet, and so
Right.
you can get real time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there, like I said, some are.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, the one that I most commonly use, is not.
Right.
So they can't imagine. They don't have creativity that is beyond the bounds of what they've already been given. So they seem creative, because I'm going to tell in a demonstration here, I'm going to tell the AI to make a picture, a realistic photo-like picture of a scene, and it will do that. But it's not creating that. It's got images in its database of people and things, and it puts them together to make a lifelike, or you can tell it to make a cartoonish image, or whatever you want. Emotions and empathy, they don't have any emotions and they can't empathize. Ethical and moral decision making. So it might sometimes seem as though they are, but again, everything that they do is based on what humans have given it in terms of information. Sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it's just wrong. Or they make stuff up, so seemingly they make stuff up. They conflate two different things together, and they call what it's called hallucinating. That AIs hallucinate. And what they really do is they've got so much information that they try really hard, it seems, to create an answer for you. And sometimes they create an answer that's just wrong. And so you have to be aware of that. Okay, so they can't apply knowledge learned from one situation, I should say, to another situation. So unless they hallucinate, right? Like I said, they will try. But they really, when they do try, they fail pretty obviously. And they don't have intuition, so they can't intuit things. So basically, everything that makes us human, they can't do. Now, the things that they can do, they do well, which is learn, and they are able to put things together. They're able to summarize information very well, very, very quickly. Some of the things that, I'll be saying that I think are coming and that are
Do you like Copilot or ChatGPT for information?
I don't use Copilot. I use ChatGPT pretty much all the time. Copilot, I think, is probably good, but you get in a habit of using something, and that's what you tend to use. So, in that respect, I don't. It's really only been out there for a couple years, and I've been busy for most of it, and so I really haven't spent a lot of time playing around with all the various AIs that are out there. But I've heard Copilot's good, and some of them are good for some things, and some are better at other things. So and one of the things that we'll see is ChatGPT has a whole host of AIs that are specialized, and that if there's a particular topic that you want to focus on, you might want to try using those rather than the more general tool.
Are you going to show us some example? I haven't used ChatGPT.
Yeah, I am going to. Yep.
Do you go on the internet, or do you use an app?
Yeah, on the internet. They do have an app. I think for both Android and Apple. So I've got an app, it's on my phone. There's no app for the computer. If you're on a PC, you go to the internet. Yeah. So what they can do,
just to fill you in,
Yeah.
Gail shared that that there are sources given on Copilot with the source material with its responses. So
yes,
that
that's
if you
right.
use Copilot, you get the source material as well as the
It will.
response.
Yeah.
Same thing with perplexity, get the source material.
Yeah.
So that way you can actually, that's a nice feature because you can verify. Because sometimes, like I said, it puts things together incorrectly. So having the source material, you can verify, is this right or is this a hallucination?
So Martha shares that she heard that AI is upgraded recently and that they can detect emotions.
Yes,
AI can tell
they
if
can
someone is
detect
happy or sad and detects if someone has some specific sickness like a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Wow, that's scary.
So that's absolutely true. They supposedly they've got some AIs trained to recognize an infant's, a baby's, what they're crying about better than their mom can. So yeah, I can't wait until we got AIs doing our nannying. So, but yeah, because they can, they're not confused by everything else that's going around, by hand signals. They see the face and they see, they've been trained with probably millions of pictures, probably even drawings of emotions, and they've been told this is an emotion for sadness, and they probably had hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of those, and anger and perplexity, and so much better than we can, because we are, we listen more to what people are saying a lot, or we're looking at other things rather than studying the face. And people that are really good at looking at reading people, that's what they do. They study the face.
So this would be like an application that actually is a camera? That
Yes.
looks at-
Yep. And vision.
And next thing you know, they'll tell you why you're talking.
Vision AI.
I'd appreciate it if I heard more of Greg, and I thought we weren't going to hear so many intermittent questions. That's just my opinion.
Okay, well, it is an interactive presentation. And so we welcome your opinions as well as those in the room.
Yeah, because honestly, my presentation is comparatively short. So because I've got some demonstrations to do and was expecting to get some interaction. So what they can do, drawing on a wealth of information developed by humans to answer questions using human language. That's probably what most people experience with an AI, is ask it a question or ask it to do something that requires a written response, and they're very good at that. Create detailed responses, for example, writing an essay. So teachers are tearing their hair out, just like they did when the calculator came out. They're tearing their hair out trying to keep these kids from cheating using an AI. And my opinion is, I showed my students how to use the AI for programming. I said, you're going to use it in your life. So I just need to come up with complex enough assignments that the AI is not going to be able to come up with a good, accurate response. And that's what people are going to have to do that are tearing their hair out to keep their students from cheating with AI, because there are supposed AI detectors, just like there's plagiarism detectors. There's, supposedly programs that can see if you ran it through an AI, and they can give you false positives like anything else. And that's really bad. I mean, because if you're accusing a kid of doing something they didn't do it. So in my opinion, people need to adapt and just expect kids are they have that tool available to them. They'll have it in the workforce. I mean, how many people right now, their boss tells them to write a report on such and such first thing they're doing is going to the AI. As long as they give it the right information, it'll probably do a better and much faster job than they can do. And I think that, we just have to get used to that. So be creative. So before I said they really can't create, but they're not creating out of whole cloth. They're not just, they won't ever create something that never existed before in their mind, in their mind, so to speak. But they can. I've had them write poems for me. I told them what kind of poem and what kind of things to focus on, and they'll write poems. It'll write a fictional story. I write textbooks, and they added a new feature to the books I'm working on. They want me to put some sort of story at the very beginning of every chapter that's sort of like a real usage of network technology, because my books are based on networking. And sometimes I write the chapter and I'm tired and I'm like, well, let's see if the AI can come up with something. And sometimes I've used it and sometimes I haven't, because I don't always like what it produces, but they're capable of doing that, and believably so. So they can create works of art, literally works of art that are indistinguishable from the master whose style you told it to create the work of art. Except it won't have brush strokes, except artificial brush strokes. They'll all be, little pixels on the screen. But they can do those things, which makes it seem as though they are truly creative. But they can only create those things if they didn't have any examples of Van Gogh in their database. They couldn't create something based on Van Gogh, obviously. But that's why it makes it seem as though these things really are human-like intelligence. All right, so like,
That said, can you edit what they create?
absolutely.
Thank you.
You can edit it, and you can tell them fix this part. So if whether it's a text-based response or a computer program, because I have them help me sometimes when I can't figure out one part of an algorithm, I'll ask the AI if it can. And if it gets it mostly right, but not completely, then I'll just edit it and use that. If it's a image that it generates, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have a little edit option, and you can highlight what part of the picture you don't like and explain how you want it to fix it, and it'll make a stab at fixing it. All right, so like I said, being creative is counter to what I said that an AI can't do. But again, being creative comes with the caveat that it has to have examples of that creativity before it can. In other words, it's not going to create, a Van Gogh, so to speak, out of its own, devices. It can only copy what other people have already done.
We tested chat, I think it was ChatGPT that I was using, and we asked it to come up with a slogan for Georgetown Village. And it was actually pretty good based on what it had read on our website.
Right. Logos, slogans, it'll very often it'll give you several choices, and pick which one you want, or tell it try again. And maybe or maybe not, it'll come up with something you like. Again, since they're not people with a really truly creative mind, they probably won't do as well as a graphic artist that's their job, creating logos and slogans and things like that. But they'll come pretty close.
Are you gonna, not right now, but are you gonna give us some places that we can go for AIs that do this or that or whatever?
Yeah, I mean,
so that we could go home and try things out that we haven't tried out.
yeah, actually, you'll see that in ChatGPT they have a whole list of other AIs, and we'll look at that.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
All right. So the Holy Grail, in other words, the AI that the AI defined as AI is what it's called is artificial general intelligence, AGI. So that is true. That's what the people out there, the experts in AI, that is what they're striving for, is this artificial general intelligence. And if they achieve it, they'll be able to do all the things that I said that currently they can't do. They will have reason. They'll be able to apply something learned in one situation to another situation. They'll have common sense. They'll be able to create something. In other words, they will act human. So that's where they hope it is going, or that some want it to go. Some don't. Some are scared of that, rightly so, because we don't want, I don't think, AIs doing things beyond the bounds of what they've been trained to do, because then that becomes scary, because they can do everything that we can do based on their training much, 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 much faster. That's why things like self-driving cars, once you reach 70-80% of the vehicles on the road that are self-driving, accidents will go down to next to nothing, because they can make, not only with all the sensors that will be on the roads, they will going up to an intersection, they'll know even before, like if there's a car coming down 70 miles an hour that's not controlled by an AI, they'll know, oh, that's not going to stop, and it won't go through that intersection. Whereas a human may not see it, may not expect it, may just, kind of, it's a four-way stop, they'll stop. The AI will be able to tell based on the speed and the fact that it's not slowing down. It'll know that instantly and know, oh, I'm just going to stay right here. I'm not going to go through this intersection. And so traffic accidents will probably be cut. Now, are they perfect? Will there be accidents? Something will malfunction, technology malfunctions. Yep. And people will, be incensed by it. But if they come out with the statistics at the end of the year, it'll still be, 1/100th of the fatalities that are caused by humans not using self-driving cars.
But isn't that information also information that has to be put in some way? That isn't original information by the AI.
Right. No, it's not. With self-driving cars, I kind of went on a tangent. Self-driving cars are the AI that we know today, not this artificial general intelligence. So self-driving cars are, yes, they have to be taught. They have to be taught, and they have to be, that's why it's being introduced very, very slowly in only very select places, because there's, millions of possible situations that can happen on a real road. And so they have to make sure that they've gone through enough of those possible situations that they will respond correctly to whatever situation it is, and not cause, the rare accident that a few of them have already caused.
But how is it possible for a machine to come up with something that isn't put in by some human brain?
Well, that's exactly the question.
But how can you even visualize that?
So, and you've got me, because that, to me, and that's why we're not there yet. They don't know how to make that happen. They don't know how to truly mimic the brain. They know how to mimic aspects of the brain, mostly storage and retrieval, but they don't know how to mimic the brain and how it is able to come up with ideas, with fresh ideas. So that's what they're working towards, and that's why I say we're not there yet. We're not to the point where they can reason or have common sense or independently create. They're working on it, and is this even possible? Some say yes, and some say absolutely not. Those that do say yes, the time range, we'll be there anywhere from 15 years to 70 years. Yeah. So, I mean, in other words, nobody knows if we'll ever get to true this AGI, artificial general intelligence. Because it's a puzzle. We don't know the brain well enough, not even close. We know what parts of the brain and what they're responsible for, but as a whole, science doesn't know how it really works.
Well, it seems like on the self-driving cars, they could go beyond what it could possibly.
Oh,
do,
absolutely.
Because it would have to be all the cars, communicate.
Yep.
You can get
They'll be able to
information on
communicate
other cars
together
around you,
and
and a human could possibly do that
Right.
without being able to see them and so on.
Yeah.
So it could be really wonderful, but sure, there.
yeah, and it's gonna take a while because bureaucracy. So,
Well, and you have to force people to buy the cars that, you have to have cars that have the sensors that can provide the information
Right.
to the other cars, and that'll be a long time.
it will be. Okay, so how and where is AI used today? And I don't mean some of the examples of the programs we've already talked about, like ChatGPT, and Microsoft's. I always forget Bing and Copilot, but something that you've likely used 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago before these newer AIs came out. Anyone think of something that they may have used that is basically AI technology? Anyone have Amazon Alexa in their house? That's AI. It's not as good as ChatGPT, but it's AI. It's an early iteration of something like ChatGPT. But it hasn't been given, and it gets information in real time. So, but yeah, things like Amazon Alexa and the Google Assistant and Siri, those are AIs. They're just not as advanced, but they will be. They will be. That Amazon, they're going to come out with their, Alexa Plus, or call it something else, that will be like ChatGPT, except all audio responses. Anything else?
We did have a question in the chat. I wanted to wait for you to finish that discussion. So Marta asked that she would like to hear more about privacy and security. She's wondering if her information is being stored. She's used ChatGPT for formal email proofreading for hospitals and other organizations. And one day it asked me if my children were okay out of nothing, while I was proofreading something unrelated. This scared me. How does a machine remember things like that?
It asked
How her children were. She has done proofreading for hospitals, and out of in the middle of looking at something else, the machine asked if her children were okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that is scary, isn't it?
It is. Privacy and security are absolutely big issues for people. I don't know if everyone knows it, but if you have a Alexa, I assume it's the same for Google Assistant, that you can go in with the app, your phone app, and see the recordings that Alexa has saved that are not prompts for Alexa. So I've gone in and heard myself singing. It saves these things poorly. It does save these snapshots of things, and the reason is, they say, that they use it to make Alexa better, to have fewer false positives of the Alexa keyword. Because sometimes, I'm sure everyone's been just talking, or the TV's on, and suddenly Alexa pops up and says, "I didn't understand that." It's like, that's because we weren't talking to you. So, but yeah, I mean, now you can go in and you can shorten the length of time that Alexa saves that information. You can delete anything that's there now, and you can basically say, don't save anything. And if you're really concerned about security and privacy, that might be what you want to do. The one thing that it will possibly affect detrimentally for your experience with Alexa, or probably Google Assistant too, is Alexa can recognize individual voices. And so usually it's just the owner, whoever registered it. So Alexa knows my voice and it calls me by name. Okay, but not the rest of the family. And if I were to delete all those recordings, it might, that might go away, which I wouldn't really care too much. I don't need it to call me by name. So, but yeah, so privacy and security, they do store this information. It presumably it's not being purposely let out, but like everything else, anything's hackable.
Bethany? Thank you.
Yes.
As people start using ChatGPT or continue to use ChatGPT, one thing that you might want to point out is that you can go into the settings and opt out of its being able to use the stuff that you create.
Right.
You create your own GPT bots and stuff, and you can say, do not use this to train, to make, to better prepare other people.
Right. I do.
Oh, okay.
I do.
No, I was
We have
asking
till-
about stopping the sharing.
You wanted to go, yeah, we
Just
wanted
so
to
because
be
people
by
wanted to
6:30
see
or
you.
so. Yeah.
Don't worry about that. I'm sorry.
I also just wanted to mention, I know a lot of organizations actually don't allow you to use ChatGPT because of sensitive information. Like I know my brother works at a bank and there's a company policy. So just one more thing to keep.
So yeah, so that might be a reasonable policy. They're obviously afraid if it gets hacked and you've been putting in financial data to try to get it to create a report for you or an analysis, which it can do, that may not be cool with the bosses. So some of the things that I put down there that most people have probably already used: voice assistants, like we were talking about, Amazon shopping, your home screen gets tailored for you based on stuff that you've recently looked at, that you bought. And sometimes it's, has stuff that you never looked at and nothing like you've ever bought, but it sort of makes inferences. Oh, maybe you'll like this because you like this. So that is an AI type function. Google Maps, great AI. I mean, sometimes they get me lost, but for the most part, that's an AI process. These applications are done the same way as the one that we'll demonstrate, ChatGPT. It sounds like a lot of people have already seen it, but I've got some prompts that some people may not have thought to give it.
What is Grammarly?
So Grammarly is a program where you can give your document to it and it will correct your grammar, so to speak. Try to correct your grammar. So that's an AI, because it's very language is complex, especially the English language, and the rules for grammar are complex. And the original early versions of the Grammarly probably were not. They're just based on rules, but now they give Grammarly, thousands and thousands of, gigabytes of data of written essays and things to show this is good, this is bad. And that's pretty much how they do things like Grammarly and language translations and things, is give it a test data, say this is the correct response, and if it comes off with incorrect response, then you tell it, no, that's not correct. And that's how it learns. It learns from you giving it lots of information and telling it what example, like spam filters are AI generated. Spam filters, you give it millions or at least hundreds of thousands of examples of emails. First you say these are all spam, so it knows what spam looks like, and then you give it you give it an email or a whole bunch and say, tell me what this is this spam or not? And when it incorrectly identifies something, either as spam when it shouldn't be or not spam when it should be, then that's called refining it. And so that's how these things are developed.
Streaming services and television programs do that also. They suggest programs for you based on what you've been watching.
Yep.
That's AI
Absolutely.
also.
Yep, absolutely. That's why they want you to do the ratings. They want you to, rate everything you watch, because then it can better give you more accurate suggestions on what you might like.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah, matter of fact, if you take a class on AI, there's lots of free online ones. One of the first applications that you're likely to write is a movie suggester, based on a very small sample of data, but it's essentially a movie suggester, and you rate various aspects of it, what you like, what you don't like, and then how well it comes up with suggestions that for you that it thinks you might like. And that's actually fairly simple, comparatively simple to do if you're a programmer. But in other words, it's not advanced. Like things like ChatGPT are well beyond my capability as a programmer. But I could do something like that movie recommender program.
How do we get to ChatGPT?
We're gonna see that very shortly.
Sorry.
All right, we will. So, game-changing applications for AI, healthcare, telehealth, teledoc is going to be tele-AI. I predict, and a lot of others are predicting it too. It will be just like your nurse practitioners. They have to have a MD backing it. Your AIs will have an MD backing it, at least, or possibly a nurse practitioner. So that, and it probably won't be allowed to write prescriptions, but it can suggest prescriptions, and the MD will be signing off on it. But that will open up. Well, first off, the good parts of that are they'll have instantly access, if you okay it, obviously, to all of your health records, all of your other medications, and it will never make a mistake, because they'll have a database of all the interactions of all the medications, and it will know if doctors just prescribed a medication that will have potentially a serious interaction, because doctors are much more likely to make that mistake, or even the pharmacists, because they have the information, but they're busy and they can make mistakes. Whereas the AI, it's just going to be cut and dry. They're going to see, you're taking these 6 medications and you've just been prescribed this, and there's serious interactions or not with something you're already taking. Law, same thing. It'll be able to draw case law, going back hundreds of years instantly from its databases, whereas a law assistant isn't going to have to go to the library and look it up. Education, I think that could be a big one. Teachers may not be happy about it, but AIs can easily be programmed with lesson plans and be given personalities, and they're never going to have a bad day. They'll always be happy, no matter how the kids are behaving. And so I think that might be something coming on the horizon. Job automation, we already know that's already happening. People are concerned about it, obviously. Robots, that's already happening. Just they're pretty, dumbed down robots. Some concerns. Obviously, somebody mentioned privacy and security. Any other concerns that anyone can think off the top of their head that you might have with AI?
Well, obviously, there's the cybersecurity issues.
Right. Security and privacy are probably number one for most people.
Well, and also misinformation.
Yeah.
If people are hearing things from AI that they're going to believe.
Yep.
And
just like the internet, just like everyone believes what's on the internet.
Exactly.
Job automation, obviously, privacy. It's all about the data. It's only as good as the data that's been given. If you want an AI to diagnose you, then you're going to have to give it your information. Bias, I think that's a big one for people that ask it questions of historical nature or a political nature. They're supposed to be non-political. They are. They are political. They are not political. But that's not their fault. It's not, it's the data that they've been given. They've been given data, and based on at least my experimentation, they are biased. They say that they're not, but they are. So AI's answer is only as good as the training data. And then the last, over-reliance. People are going to get lazy. But, you know, when the calculator came out, people got lazy, and, you know, they don't even really teach a lot of drilling of arithmetic anymore because everyone's got a calculator. Which I think is not a good thing, because it's not just learning how to, you know, multiply. It forms patterns in your brain. It develops your brain learning some of these things. So hopefully over-reliance is something that won't get too out of hand. So some AI tools that you can use now, and I didn't put the links for these, some of them I did actually. Maybe I did it for all of them. Huh. But yeah, not all of them. Some of the ones at the bottom, like it must have gotten lazy at the end. So those, and you can probably give them the presentation.
Okay, so
Plus
you'll
it'll,
you'll have to email me the presentation.
so I'm going to show you really ChatGPT and a lot of its other ones real quick.
And just, I mean,
And-
so Greg will forward me the slides, and I will put a link to them that you can get to either in our YouTube channel where we have the recording. You'll have the link to the slides as well. And Bethany will share it in Sunday's email.
Okay. So I think everyone wants to get on to doing some examples, so I'll do that. But I asked these questions just because these are a lot of things that the AIs can do. They can help, you know, create images. They can help you if you're a gardener and you want advice on plant care or what plants go well together or whatever. Cooking, you can, you know, there's some out there you can give it a picture of your ingredients and it will come up with a recipe. I think there's even commercial. There's a commercial with that one up on there. I think Siri does it.
And so just for you to know, Marta had in the Q&A in the chat about will AI be taking people's jobs? And I think it already has in some places.
It will, but we'll be also creating many, many more.
So what's the name of the cooking app? That AI
There's I think there's one within ChatGPT that that's specific to cooking.
Well, and you may remember during the pandemic when we started our CCC programming, and Jim, you should have picked up on this. There was a website that I shared with everybody when I said, you know, make a cocktail and zoom in, and it was, you know, what's in my bar. And so if you listed what ingredients you had, it gave you recipes.
But
Right.
let's get the names of the app that'll let us do it.
Okay, so let me bring this up here.
If it's in ChatGPT, I guess I can certainly, you know, I haven't used that at all, so I can try that out.
Okay, well, we're about to find out.
All right.
ChatGPT, it would give it to you.
So here's ChatGPT. Now, I did subscribe to the paid version, which mostly it gives me more prompts that I can give it. You know, that's what I type into the message ChatGPT. That's called a prompt.
Now, is this an app or is this
This is chatgpt.com.
Okay.
Now, you'll want to create an account because it saves your chats. You can always delete them. But I'm gonna start from. Everyone see the ChatGPT screen?
Well, it just says, what can I help with?
Right. All right. Well.
It's already grammatically incorrect.
See, very, very imperfect. All right. So I decided to see how smart ChatGPT is, and I gave it a riddle. So you probably have all seen this riddle. Brothers and sisters have I none, but that man's father was my father's son. What is that man's relationship to me? So a riddle seems a fairly complex thing for an AI to do because it does require reasoning. However, this particular riddle is out there on the internet. So
Answers to it.
so it probably has answers to it. Let's see what it comes up with. So the one thing it does is it explains how it arrives at the correct answer. All right, and it does come up with the correct answer. The man is your son. So, but it explains, that was nice of it. It didn't just give us an answer, it explained why it's the correct answer. And then, let's see.
Are you gonna do one that shows us doing a drawing or something?
Yeah, well, yeah. So, anyone that likes word games like Wordle, does anybody play Wordle or similar ones? Okay, so 2 years ago, or a little, probably less than that, when I first tried ChatGPT, I tried to give it something like this, except probably even simpler, and it failed miserably. Absolutely failed miserably. Now, 2 years, yeah, I was trying to cheat Wordle. So 2 years later, I try it, and so what it did, it came up with a 5-letter word that meets my criteria. And then I said, wait, that's not really what I wanted. So I just said, just give me a list of all the English words that meet the criteria. So sometimes you have to, you tell it to do something and it, you knew what you meant, but it didn't know what you meant. So you have to explain. Now, here's where it's really thinking hard. You see, it's saying analyzing, and this is likely going to take a while. Yeah, actually did it. It actually produced much better than the first time. I wonder if it learned from that first, because I tried this the other day and it gave me a list, but it had a whole bunch of words that started with the letter A, and N and L and all that. So it looks like it remembered. Yes, so very good. So again, 2 years ago, it failed miserably at something like this. And now, very nice job, actually. So I'm like, okay, when I want to do that Wordle of the day, I know where to go if my brain's too tired. All right, let me do one more. Let's see, here we go.
Oh, man.
So here's another riddle. So I'm an odd number, take away a letter and I become even. What number am I? And of course, the number is 7, because if you take away the S, the word becomes even. And so I was pretty impressed with that. And so I gave it a follow-up. And I said, I wanted to know how it did that. So I said, can you solve riddles because you've been trained on the specific riddle data, or are you reasoning it out? And here's where I think the AI is a little full of itself. Combination of reasoning and pattern recognition. I would say mostly, if not all, pattern recognition. Not because I've been explicitly trained on specific riddle data. So I have my doubts about that, just because it's, I don't think they're there yet. But in any case, the AIs will, we saw what the initial definition was of what the AI said the definition of AI was, and it was a little bit overblown. But it, it tells, yeah, pictures. All right.
We only have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Well, we've got time. We're not
Okay,
getting
good.
out.
Okay,
All right.
then I'll feel better.
The free version will probably do pretty darn close to just as well. I'm actually using 4.0, which is the free version. It switched me to 4.0 because I had run out of prompts and I never switched it back. So this is essentially what version that you can use without paying a monthly fee. You're just limited to how many prompts, more so than I would be, because I pay a little bit. Okay, so where is my images? Anyone play bridge? You can ask it for some strategies to help win at bridge. May or may not be anything that you don't know. But let me try this image. image generator. So over on the sidebar here on ChatGPT, if you click that, usually it's open by default. I had just closed it. It gives you some other chat or some other GPTs. Anyone know what GPT stands for? Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So, all right, so image generator, and we'll give it a prompt. So I say, create a realistic image of a young family at the beach in a tent, and the man and the woman are enjoying a fruity alcohol beverage. The kids are playing with their dog near the water. All right, so let's see what it does.
I feel like the Jeopardy theme song should play or something.
See if it repeats the same that it did before. Okay. So this is really, really interesting. So, all right. So it basically did exactly what I asked it. Now, when I was working with this the other day, it would not have, first off, it didn't like the idea of the alcoholic beverage being as part of the prompt. And it would not do the picture with the kids playing with the dog near the water. It said there's something in my content restrictions that disallow this. And today it worked. So I was hoping to get it to actually not work so I could explain that it has what's called guardrails. So guardrails are controls to prevent it from doing things like using profanity, being overtly political, doing something that, saying something racial or something that could be construed as offensive. But people go and they have contests to see if somebody can trick the AI into breaking its rules. And they're usually pretty successful. And what does that do? That helps the developers tweak the rules so that they can't get around it as easily. So, but they do have rules. I mean, I can't tell it to do something pornographic, for example. It will disallow. I'm sure there are some that are, but not these, not these mainstream ones. Okay, so exploring GPTs. Does anybody want it to create a specific image? Does anybody want to see if it'll create something or in a specific style?
Can I put you in it, for instance, since you're?
No, I could if I gave it a picture. Some of them can.
What if you were to say to create the image that you asked for, but in the style of Matisse?
Okay.
In the style of what?
Matisse.
Or Van Gogh.
Can you
Somebody.
do this as a painting in the style of who?
Matisse.
And that's M-A-T-T,
No, M-A-T-I-S-S-E.
one T? Okay. And I like to be polite and include the question mark, even though it's not necessary. Now, we'll see if its restrictions allow it. There may be some things that, yeah. So it probably has restrictions on doing, things that might be considered copyright violation. Not even, I mean, it wouldn't be copyright, but I know that there are ones out there that will do it.
Could you ask it to do it as a 5-year-old would draw it?
All right.
Impressionist, maybe you could ask it to do.
Yeah, instead of a particular person, we can try that. And this image generator pro is just one.
I like that much better than the other one.
Yeah. That's actually quite nice. It's a talented 5-year-old. Yeah, exactly.
But I like the threesome. The parents were a threesome. That's pretty good.
I didn't actually notice that. In
Creating a logo for a company, let's say for a barber shop.
okay, I mean, see if it'll do impressionist. Yeah, we can ask. There's ones that are specific for logos. We can take a look at that. Like Canva is specific, I think, for logos and presentations and other things. So
Oh, yes.
impressionist. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Impressive.
All right. I'll give ChatGPT a 4.
Oh, cool.
All right. So yeah. So really, I mean, and then you'll find that most of the image generators, you only can create so many before it says you've used your allotted number for the day, unless you pay. But it resets like the next day, then you can do more, or even sometimes 4 hours later or whatever. They're all different. But let's look at the GPTs that are available, and we've got see, the first ones are the featured ones. Code Tutor, so that's for a programmer. Whimsical Design, so that's flow charts and mind maps and diagrams. If you want it to revamp your resume, Universal Primer is something you want to learn about a subject. It'll create like a little learning package for you.
Logo creator.
Yeah, Canva, Logo Creator. Does anyone want to try a logo?
Yeah, that's what's right. Well, I said for, say, a barber shop or a beauty salon or something.
All right. Now, the more specific you get, better, it'll do. So if we just say logo for a barbershop, you can see what it does. And then usually you can, tweak it and tell it to change things.
Georgetown Village.
What did it
has a
say?
logo, right?
Oh, okay.
But we should make
How do you want the logo to feel? So it's asking me, more specific, vibrant, neutral, serious, skip the questions and do the default.
So Marta wanted
A coffee importing business, a logo.
How clean and simple. Let's do 4.
This is cool. This is cool. This is very cool. I can play with that.
Red and black, blue and silver. So, okay, so custom palette. Decide for me. Let's see. Let's decide. Give me 9. I probably should have said B. Yeah, so it'll come up with a bunch of different ones, and you can see if you like any of them. And then you can say, I didn't like any of those, try again.
Oh,
There you go.
now what's this for? The
A
barber
Barbershop, yeah.
Cool.
All right, so an example, I actually asked it to create, see if I kept it. I guess I didn't keep it. I have the prompt for this aging in place. Create a logo for community organization called Aging in Place. So let's see what it comes up with.
This is cool.
No, boy, it's gonna ask me questions again. Vibrant, neutral, serious. We're gonna. You guys like clean and simple or detailed and complex?
Medium.
All right. So default is 3, so we'll leave it 3. And then color choices. Any ideas?
How about using our custom palette, green and orange?
Okay, custom. Green. Oops.
You spelled it wrong.
Did spell that right. Okay. Give me 9.
So does this co-pilot thing, does that do something
Interesting.
similar?
Oh, the one in the middle is the one that.
Well,
is on
yeah,
the-
as far like this is not Chat GPT. It's the image generator or the logo creator within Chat GPT. So you have to go to logo creator. If you told Chat GPT to create something, what it will do is create a prompt that you can then put into one of its other things. But as far as Copilot goes, I think that Copilot, I don't know that Copilot has a built-in image generator. It probably does, but I have not used it.
Ask Gail, she obviously.
Yeah.
uses it.
So there, there it goes. There's
They've got the helping hands.
yeah, it did it was big on the hands, wasn't it?
What was the subject?
The aging in place.
Aging in place.
Yeah. So let's look at some of the other GPTs that are out there. So there's the Canva, which is again sort of like logo creator, but it does more things. It'll do presentations, social media posts, and whatnot. Image generator is similar to what we were just using. I think I was using Image Generator Pro.
What's that Scholar?
So Scholar GPT, what is that? Critical reading skills, access Google Scholar, PubMed. So this is one that was trained specifically on scholarly input, scholarly articles, and that sort of thing.
So it would be textual stuff.
Yeah. Write for me. So if you if you're a writer and you've got writer's block, help it so that you get your juices flowing. That's pretty much what I've done. I don't just use what it produces verbatim, but if I like the idea that it comes up with, I'll take it and run with it. Consensus, that's research. And these are ones specifically by ChatGPT. The others were third party, but DALL-E, which is another image generator, that one is supposed to be really good. Hot
And then are
mods.
they all free or do you?
Oh, so this one lets you submit an image and it will modify it for you. Yeah, these are all part of ChatGPT, and you'll get, again, you'll have restrictions if you don't pay. But if you do pay, it's like $20 a month to get the plus, ChatGPT Plus. Then you have a lot more, prompts that you can give it and so forth.
But if people just want to go in and play with it, there's.
If you just want to play with it, yeah, chatgpt.com, and then you want to create an account. I think it requires that you create an account. If not, you'll be more limited if you don't create one. So I mentioned about plants. So there's Planty, there's Coloring Book Hero. I thought there was I think there's going to be a cooking one somewhere.
Ask it how to take care of your plants.
Yep.
Where would you go for translations
Translations like
from one language into another?
Oh, Google
Yeah.
Translate does.
well,
that.
Google Translate does do it, but
Terrible. Google translations are terrible.
it just does like phrases. It tries to do it essentially verbatim. Let's see.
Because the AI does a good job on those.
Yeah, language translation. So you can do search GPT. So here we go. AI, language learning, speak train tutor, translator assistant. So if you go to Chat GPT and look at the list of its Explore GPTs, then if you're not finding what you want, you can just do a search, and it's search basically not just what it knows about, but what's out there on the internet that's available to people.
Language
A
translation.
voice translator.
Claire, did you want to say something?
On the translator, I use it for translation a lot, and I don't go to those. With a good prompt saying you speak excellent French, you speak excellent English as well,
Oh, then
and give it a very, very specific prompt, and then give it the text. It does a phenomenal job.
and that's which.
Say again.
What does
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT? Yeah, I didn't think about that. That you could use
You
that.
don't need to go to one of those. You can give it a very good prompt, give the text, and it'll do an absolutely amazing
Really?
job.
What do you mean by a very good prompt?
The prompt is what the message that you give
are
to
what
it.
You want it.
Yeah.
Well, but you give it a, you speak excellent French, you also speak excellent English. I want you to translate the following text. I want you to translate it into contemporary French that an educated French person would understand. You have to be very specific, and then it does an absolutely amazing job. Use it for old texts, for new texts, and so on. So all I'm saying is you don't have to go to one of those. You can give it a very, very good prompt. Prompting is very important in that situation.
So for anyone that's interested more in like the techie stuff, I had some slides at the end of the presentation. Why they're not here, I'm scratching my head. Maybe I saved it in a different file, but I'll make sure that's the one that's available. It's just probably 6 slides at the end that are sort of like how does a chat GPT get created, but it's techie stuff. So you may not be interested in it, but I figured I'd include it in case somebody was.
This is great. So can we stop sharing so people?
Yeah, I'm going to stop
somebody can
sharing.
see
So
you, because yes, the complaint is that people couldn't see you.
Okay.
So there you go. So now, and I can actually pin.
all right. So can everyone see me now?
No,
No?
Okay.
Hmm.
Can you see Greg now?
Yes.
no.
We're not.
Who's saying no?
I've been able to see him the whole time.
Oh, you have. Okay.
Me
So I'm not sure why. What about you,
Yes,
Sarah?
I can see you.
I
Okay.
can see you.
Okay. So was it Corinna? I'm not sure
I
why.
don't know.
I can't see.
Maybe you have a blocked Greg app on
Do,
your.
do you have another app maybe that's open that's hiding it?
No,
Maybe it's
I don't. I don't have anything else open.
huh.
The top right-hand corner, usually you can have the speaker.
Right, well, I pinned him to that's why he's in the middle.
But I meant on her.
Right.
Okay, put it on
Yeah, you could say it.
right now.
Sure.
Is this the time to speak?
Yes, you have a
Yes.
question?
Oh, we wanted to say you're a wonderful teacher and presenter. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Oh.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's nice. Were there any other questions from people who are at home?
No?
What about people who are here? Anything else you wanted to ask about?
Just wanted to say thank you. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm glad it was interesting to you.
Try now. Let us get
Yeah, there's a lot of things to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I, fairly recently within the last several months discovered about ChatGPT is it's got all these other GPTs that I wasn't aware of that before. So, but I'm using it a lot more than I used to because I found that it's gotten so much better. And so in 2 years, I would say at least for what I use it for, it's gotten 70–80% better, if not more. And so another 2 years, I can't imagine. It's going to be knock my socks off. and I'm usually not that easy to impress when it comes to computer stuff, but I've been impressed by not just GPT, but all of the ones like it, because they're all doing more or less the same thing.
What do you find you use it most for?
I've been using it most for helping me with programming,
Oh, okay.
just because it's got access to so much out there on the internet, maybe not anything that's been developed in the last, 6 months or a year, depends on when it was last updated, which is actually something we can ask it. Well, I don't have screen sharing on, but I can ask it, when were you last updated, so we know. Were you last updated with training data? April 2023 is what ChatGPT 4.0 goes to. So anything after that, it will not have knowledge for, but it does say it can browse the web to get real-time information if that's what you ask it to do.
Oh, okay.
So you can say, that's new too, because it didn't used to be the case. So I guess when I first went on, I tried some things and I was like, oh, I don't like that. So I went away for a while, and when I came back, it had gotten much, much better. So yeah, April 2023 is where the most of its knowledge comes from now. So if you ask it for some factual data that occurred after that, it will be able to come up with essentially what Google search does. It won't have probably as detailed knowledge and be able to present nice prose for a response.
Well, Greg, thank you very, very much for the time, and really, it was very interesting, and certainly gives us a lot of things to go play with when we get home. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, try to fool it. Try to see if you can come. I was going to ask if anyone knew any riddles that are a little obscure, and because I wanted to try to see if I could come up with something where it couldn't get. There was one that was like 3 sentences, and it was described a stapler. Well, I only gave it 2 of them, and I mixed up the words a little bit. Like I changed the words so it wouldn't be right off what the internet is. And with just the 2 sentences, it came up with a trap. And then when I add the 3rd sentence, then it came up with stapler. So yeah, like I said, I was impressed with what I also gave it some word patterns. How you say what's the next or not word, number patterns, where you can say what's the next number in this sequence. And again, the first time, it might have come up with something reasonable, but not what I was thinking. And then I gave it 2 more sets of numbers, and then it came up with the right subsequent sequence. So so it, again, it's not perfect, but it probably figured it out faster than most people would once I gave it enough information.
Thank you for joining us online. Thank you for being here. There's still food, snacks, wine. We're not kicking you out. So welcome to stay and chat a bit. And Greg, I hope you'll take something to eat and drink as well. Thank you again very much.
All right. Bye, everybody on Zoom land.